The thing about the global framework is that it allows territories, in my view anyway, to develop their own strategies. So in a sense, the global framework is asking leadership teams at territorial, divisional, and local level to ask the same kind of questions. Where is the focus on our people? What are we doing to enhance our mission? And what is the legacy that, are we being good stewards of what we have?
General, thank you for having a chat with me today over some coffee.
Pleasure.
We've started a process of developing a global strategic framework where leaders from across the world have been engaged, and what's been identified as a key priority area for us is the spiritual life of our people and our movement. Why do you think that is?
It's interesting that in all of the conversations and the surveys that have been done, the spiritual life of the movement keeps coming up as being a priority for the global army. On the positive side, there is this desire that the Salvation Army doesn't forget, that we remember that the spiritual life of our people has a huge impact on the effectiveness of our mission. I think another reason is because there may be a sense that it needs some reinvigoration, that we can't take it for granted, that we must be fueling, inspiring, encouraging the development of our spiritual life amongst our people for their own personal well-being, for the good of the community of faith that they might belong to or participate in, and for the impact that the army might have on the global world. So it's something that we don't want to take for granted.
Thank you. I wonder if you can just tell me how you see us encouraging the nurture of our Salvationists.
I think our teaching material, our preaching from the platforms, our pastoral care systems, they all need to be just looked at again. We need to ask the question at every level of the movement, what are we doing to help encourage people to pursue their spiritual life? And in terms of keeping Christ central, I've got a few thoughts about this, but again, it's about the personal thing. I have to keep Christ central to my own life. You have to keep him central to yours. And I think the way for the movement to keep him central is to keep reflecting on the reality that he is now the reigning king. And that we're serving not the Jesus of the past, but the Jesus now, and has authority over the Salvation Army.
Part of the strategy will see us focus on a revitalizing of congregational growth. I wonder what that looks like to you.
Perhaps what's needed to help flourishing within our core-based ministries is A, that we're not too prescriptive about what that looks like, and two, that we create a sense in the army world that it's okay to have conversations at a local level about what we might need to do, what initiatives we might need to take to ensure that our core is flourishing and meeting the needs of those who gather, but also reaching into the community so that we can give expression to our faith in ways that are consistent with the mission of the movement. And I don't want to be too prescriptive about that, because core-based flourishing might look very different in one context compared to another. But surely it's got to have, at its essence, a community of faith that wants to praise and acknowledge God. And then is also outward looking, wanting to see how it can impact its community and reach people. So these for me are indicators of flourishing, but how that looks in each context, I think needs to be different.
Thank you, General. In a world where values are constantly shifting, how do we remain relevant and responsive to the needs of a 21st century world?
My conviction is that the message of the gospel that has been entrusted into our care is relevant for all people over all time, whatever their circumstances. In terms of responsiveness, the Salvation Army has always been responding. We're constantly responding to the needs and the opportunities of our world. And our pursuit of holy living is what guards us against drift, becoming the world rather than in the world. Then how we respond to the world can have some fluidness to it, some flexibility to it, some adaptation to it. So that's where I think we have to kind of just be brave and courageous. This is who God has called us to be, and this is who we're going to be in the world. And the message that we share is a very relevant message, and we're going to continue to be responsive to the needs of people and look for those opportunities to give the reason for the hope that is within us.
So we have a global strategy. How do you see that fitting in with territorial strategies?
But the thing about the global framework is that it allows territories, in my view anyway, to develop their own strategies. What this framework seeks to do is it seeks to articulate the fact that we have identified that there needs to be some concentrated effort on our people, the development of our leaders, the wellness of our officers, the deepening spiritual life of the movement. So in a sense, the global framework is asking leadership teams at territorial, divisional, and local level to ask the same kind of questions. Where is the focus on our people? What are we doing to enhance our mission? And what is the legacy are we being good stewards of what we have? Are we using our resources in a way that glorifies and honors God? Personally, I think the framework really helps us to address some of the opportunities that exist for us as a movement over this next chapter.
Thank you for the chat today, General. Really been helpful and insightful. Pray God's blessing upon you as you continue to lead this global army of ours.
Thank you, Patty. It's been a pleasure to be involved.
Thank you.
Cheers.